Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video I'll be showing you 3 strong teams for the Hoenn Cup to hopefully help you reach your goals by the end of the season. The first team is Registeel, Sableye, and either Altaria or Medicham. The way the team works is you use Sableye to lure out the fairy type, sometimes an Altaria too, if you have Medicham in the back. And then, the Pokemon in the back is not going to see those Pokemon. If you lead into a Deoxys, a Whiscash, a Swampert, or a Medicham, at least if you have Altaria in the back, you want to swap out immediately into Sableye, which is your safe swap. If you have Medicham in the back, you do not want to swap out of the Deoxys matchup because Medicham really doesn't want to see that either. So you stay in and you win the Zero Shield matchup. Although if you don't get the Zap Cannon debuff, that does become IV dependent, but most of the time you're going to win the Zero Shield matchup. And no matter what, it's still often going to be a good situation because if they lead a Deoxys, they're often going to be weak to Medicham. If you have Altaria in the back and you lead into a Whiscash, you still want to swap into your Sableye, but you want to be very wary of not going down shields. You would rather try to get shield advantage than switch advantage against the Whiscash lead, because Altaria down shields or with no shields against the Whiscash is going to have a very difficult time. If you have a Shadow Sableye, I would probably recommend trying that out, because it beats Registeel in the 2 shields without taking a charge move at all, meaning it beats it by a lot. A regular Sableye can also beat Registeel in the 1 shield, if it's a good regular Sableye or a purified Sableye. Shadow Sableye can also beat Walrein in the 2 shield if you get 2 Shadow Claws advantage without taking a move again, which is a very good matchup. Whereas regular Sableye kind of has a meh matchup against Walrein. They both have pretty meh matchups if you don't get an energy advantage, but it's still, you can get something out of it. The only matchup where you can't really do much as the Sableye is against the Shadow Gardevoir, where you do still do a lot of damage with all the Shadow Claws, but you do lose it. But again, you grab a shield, so it's not too bad. Against an Altaria, the Shadow Sableye can win it in the 1 shield if you land the bait, because 1 Power Gem plus Shadow Claws is enough to take it out, but Altaria does farm you down if you don't land the moves correctly. So it is generally a good matchup for Altaria. It is also generally a good matchup for Altaria against the regular Sableye, although if you can land a return, you can 2 shield and just farm the Altaria all the way down with regular Sableye, which is pretty nuts. Against a Mawile, if you have an attack weighted Sableye or a Shadow Sableye, you definitely win the 2 shields against Mawile, which is how I would recommend you play it. With 1 Shadow Claws advantage, that is. Not without a Shadow Claws advantage, you don't win. And with a good IV regular Sableye or purified Sableye, it becomes very close, like 1 or 2 HP, and it's kind of difficult to tell who's going to win it. So I would definitely recommend going 2 shields against Mawile, unless there's a Whiscash in the lead, of course. A good matchup to be aware of if you choose to play with the Altaria is that you can win the 2 shields against Whiscash if you shield the moves correctly. Whiscash can go straight Blizzard in the 1 shield and still win comfortably, but if you choose to 2 shield it and you shield 2 Blizzards, or if you call a Mud Bomb, you can win that matchup, although it is generally a good matchup for Whiscash. A good matchup to be aware of with Medicham is that you can go straight pop against Whiscash in all even shield scenarios and still win. You can also 2 shield and go pop and counter through Mawile. So that's also the way that I would recommend you play it against Mawile, if you have 2 shields, of course, at that point. Generally, when you choose between Altaria and Medicham, it really just comes down to, are you going to face more Regis, Walrein, or are you going to face more fighting, Pelipper, Sableye, Swampert, that kind of stuff. I also want to say, I don't think you necessarily need to play this as an ABB line. It's only really if you face a lot of Shadow Gardevoir, then you need to lure it out with your Sableye, so your Registeel can take care of it. Because if your Registeel goes down and they have a Shadow Gardevoir, on a scale from 1 to yikes, that is just all the yikes. So yeah, but other than that, your backline can handle Mawile, Altaria. Like, they have play against them. with a bit of energy or shields, so you can let your Registeel go down. Just if you see Shadow Gardevoir a lot, don't. The next team is Deoxys, Registeel, Walrein, which is very much an ABB team, where you use either Registeel or Walrein to lure out the fighting type so the other one doesn't have to see it, and so you can take care of the fighting type with Deoxys. I think both of them can be used as the safe swap in this line. I'm not really sure which will be the best. You're probably just gonna have to try it out. Um, some good matchups to be aware of. If you lead into an Altaria, Shadow Gardevoir, Sableye, or Dusclops, you have to swap out immediately. If you lead into a Mudboy, you have to stay in because you are ABA weak to them, kind of. Deoxys does have like okay matchups against them, but Registeel really doesn't want to see them, so you have to stay in. You do win the Zero Shields against both Swampert and Wishcash, but you lose the Zero Shields to Shadow Swampert, where you can win the one shield instead, if you land the moves correctly. I think it's okay to stay in against the Mudboys, especially because it's very difficult to have a Mudboy in the lead and a fighter in the back without being very weak to flying, so I don't think you're going to see that too much. Another good matchup to be aware of is that generally lose the Zero Shields to Registeel, but if they don't get the Stab Cannon debuff, your second Thunderbolt will almost always KO unless they have a very good Registeel. So you can win the Zero Shields if you don't get debuffed by Stab Cannon. If you do get debuffed by the Stab Cannon, I would recommend you don't throw your Thunderbolt, the second Thunderbolt, immediately, and instead just shield the second Stab Cannon and farm them all the way down, because the second Thunderbolt is not enough to take them out. Another good matchup to be aware of is the Pelipper matchup. I think a lot of Pelippers are just going to choose to 2-shield against Deoxys because they know they can win it. So instead of losing the 2 shields, and I real quick just want to say that I'm only talking to all the people that I'm not going to face in Go Battle League in the next week. So if all the people that I am going to face will just mute for 10 seconds, that would be real great. Just kidding, of course. But the way that I would play the Deoxys Pelipper matchup is go up to the Thunderbolt, and instead of throwing it, just throw the Psycho Boost instead, because Pelipper is always going to shield the first move. And then after you grab a shield advantage, just swap out, because you have 2 okay matchups in the back as well. Another good matchup to be aware of is that Registeel can actually win the Zero Shields against Wishcash with only 1 lock-on's advantage. So if you use Registeel as a safe swap, you will actually win this matchup. You can also set up your Registeel in the end game, like try and get shields down, and just make sure you have a little bit of energy on Registeel and surprise your opponent that way, because they're probably not going to be aware of it. Also, Walrein wins against Mawile straight EQ Earthquake in zeros and ones. It has to land a bait in order to win the 2 shields, but it is generally a good matchup for Walrein. It can also win the 1 shield scenario and have a lot of play against Regirock in general if Regirock doesn't go for Focus Blast, or if it's not running Focus Blast, because Walrein, regular Walrein, can live a Stone Edge pretty comfortably from a Regirock. So that's a pretty good matchup for it. Like pretty neutral, which you wouldn't expect. The next team is, yeah, it had to be done. Double Reggie. And in order to run double Reggie, you need a flyer to handle the fighters and the mud boys. I don't like Altaria because then you're triple weak to Wishcash. It becomes very awkward in the lead. So I've gone for Pelipper instead. The way the team works is obviously you use one Reggie to lure out all the things the other Reggie is weak to, then you handle them with Pelipper. I think Registeel is the better safe swap because Regirock gets walled by Medicham and just generally loses harder to all the things that they both lose to. So I think Registeel is that little bit more safe. Against an Altaria, Regirock and Registeel lead, you want to swap out immediately to Registeel. And in any neutral matchup, you want to try and use Registeel as a sponge, as in you try to catch something on your way out of the matchup with Pelipper. A good thing to be aware of is that yes, you are triple weak to Deoxys, but if you face it in the lead, you just 2-shield your Pelipper, and if you face it in the back, then both of your Reggies can beat it in the Zero Shield, so you do have play against it everywhere. Once again, it's very nice to have Registeel as the safe swap in the Wishcash matchup, because you do win the Zero Shields when you get that 1 lock-on's advantage. So that's very cool. I also just want to say there is merit to running Earthquake instead of Focus Blast on your Regirock, because if you face a lot of Mawile, you can one-shot the Mawile. It also does so you're not walled by Medicham, so you do have a little bit of play there with a lot of energy advantage. The reason why I think you do have to run Focus Blast, especially if you're running it as a closer, is because then you can one-shot the Walrein instead. Stone Edge is not enough. It also gives you some different type of play against Registeel. I would definitely recommend simming the matchup, looking at the different ways of playing that. It's a bit complicated, but there is merit to running both Earthquake or Focus Blast. Not both. You do need Stone Edge, which is definitely the most important move to have and the one you're going to use the most. The next team is wait, what? Someone crossed it out and they left a message for us. If you want to get better at this game, it might be a good idea to focus on improving your understanding of energy management and other technical aspects of the game, rather than just trying to RPS people with fast move pressure. Oh wow. No, I don't know who put this here, but that is a great point. And wait, there's another hidden message here as well. A good way of doing this is to find a YouTuber who knows a lot about these things and subscribe to their channel so you can learn from watching their gameplay. Hashtag shameless plug? What? Who the hell put this here? Okay, that was probably a bit over the top. On the real though, I did put a lot of effort into looking up all the matchups in detail in order to make this video possible and make it as detailed as possible. So I really hope you found it useful and that you feel like you've learned something. Other than that, I wish you the best of luck reaching your goals for the end of this season. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.